Beats holding camera.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pioneering Party Rail Note celebration. We're celebrating all sorts of things, and you're here with us. Very early in the product, we had something called serendipity mode, and it's amazing how so many different small but huge things have come together, bounced together over the years in this domino effect that's gone from a concept to giant prototypes to little products to all sorts of options for blind people, providing accessibility worldwide. And every one of you in this room has been part of that in one way or another. Some of the people who were very significant in the beginning are up front here, and we'll be introducing them shortly. Many of you have been involved as salespeople, trainers, teachers, all sorts of different roles in this, but none of it would happen if we hadn't all been playing our different parts. So we're really happy that you're here to celebrate with us. We're going to have about a half-an-hour program, and we want to celebrate primarily three things. 10 years of Sendero Group in business, and since we introduced the first GPS. You're here? 10 years of the Braille Note that went from Keysoft 3. I'm not sure why they didn't start with Keysoft 1. We'll probably know why. But the classic that we call it now, up to the Apex and Keysoft 9. And then 75 years of Mr. Gil Lutz. You're here. So, lots to celebrate. And to start off our presentation tonight, here's Dominic Gagliano.
I usually have the gift to gab, but Mike said, please keep it under 3 minutes. And so I'm in condensed mode here. As I think back of the Braille Note, my involvement in the last 20 years with Humanware, the whole concept of Keysoft, and probably Keysoft 1 goes back 25 years to when it was running on a Toshiba or maybe an Epson computer. And those were the early days of our engineer, Jonathan Sharp, and of course our founder of Humanware, Russell Smith, and the other great people that have been involved with the product, like Jim Halliday, who's enjoying his vineyards now in Oregon, and send his greetings. I did some of his tastings this past weekend. But the Braille Note has really gone a long way, and it's kind of like almost like a 10-year birthday that we're having here, both with GPS and also with Braille Note, because I still see a long future ahead of our partnership and where the technology can take us. And so if you think of the classic Braille Note that came out, of course we had the Keynote Companion, maybe that's where version 2 came from, but then we introduced the Braille Note Classic in 2000, and it was shortly after that, in 2002, that we had GPS version 1. Kim and I reminisced about being in a snowstorm at Leader Dog and showing up with all of our wires and gear, and there are 4 feet of snow saying, why are you here? We're closed. But it was then in 2005 that we introduced the M-Power, and gosh, we had Bluetooth and it became wireless, and it was still running Keysoft. I think we got to Keysoft 5 at that point, and then we surprised everybody this last November with the Apex. And Lucia Gomez, who is the product manager, was very involved in that. I wanted to acknowledge her as well. And when you think of a product that has gone from 10 years past, and as things get older, they usually get fat and lazy and bigger, and yet we've brought a whole life to the Braille Note. It's gotten thinner and weighing 8 ounces. So we've gone from bigger to thin, and that's a good thing. So the Apex has been a wonderful success for us. We're now to Keysoft 8, and soon to get to Keysoft 9 on the Apex, actually, I think. And I all reverse numbers. But built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS now running version 6.2. So In addition, as you know, Humanware has been involved with other GPS products, so Jill will talk with you about that. But I want to join in celebration and also in recognition of many of the people, including Jerry Coons, who's been very involved with the Braille Note for many years, in celebrating really a birthday and an anniversary along with Sendero. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominic. Charles LaPierre, here to my left, and I had this crazy idea back in the late 90s, and we were fortunate enough to have it come to fruition with a lot of help, hard work, money. All these things are necessary in order to make something happen. But it really began, for me, probably when I happened to be flying to ACB in 1994 and coincidentally sat next to Jim Fruchterman on a 767 aircraft, and we talked from takeoff to landing and cab to the hotel. And I said, I love it here in Oregon. And he said, well, if you ever consider moving to California, give me a holler. I think Arkenstone is expanding and maybe we'd have a spot for you. That evolved into being VP of Sales at Arkenstone, getting introduced to the GPS products, to Charles, to Gilles, to a lot of people, and eventually to the company that Charles and I founded when we went off and spun off from Arkenstone. So I want to go back to those 90s with some of the people that are up here in front with me. We'd like to give them a symbolic gift for just the kind of thing that, you know, the old technology that's in the back of the room, by the way. You might want to look at some of the old receivers, the personal guidance system from UC Santa Barbara, which most of you probably have never heard of, is back there. A lot of different pieces of technology, symbolically represented by a map tie. I'm wearing one that's got Paris on it, and it's, you know, a good place to go, but there's ones of Rome and San Francisco, other places, and we're passing these out to these gentlemen up here.
Feel free to change if you want.
So I'd like to have a couple words from each of these pioneers of GPS from the 90s and before, starting with Jim Fruchterman.